Welcome to Ask Cadence, everyone, the Project Management Podcast. My name is Pete Wright, and I'm here once again with Connie Plowman. Connie, thank you for joining us once again.
Hi, Pete. You're looking great today.
Oh, you're too kind. I'm blushing. No, we're so glad to have you back here. This next problem that we're going to be tackling here, how do you reduce the risk of jumping to implement in projects? What does that mean?
Jumping to implement. Interesting terminology, because what I think of that when I hear that on a problem card is, how do we slow things down? We are in such a fast-paced world about getting things done that we sometimes throw out the project management disciplines and just try to go off and do it. And sometimes I think we just got to slow people down to say, where are we in the process? That's why I say when jump to implement. We skip over all of those processes to just try to go do it when we're not ready.
You know, it's funny because of the, it seems like there are so many external pressures, external and internal pressures on delivery. Everything we focus on is on end state. What are things going to look like when we're finished? And there are now so many different competing methodologies that really embrace and enforce this thinking that it seems like these influences really allow us to rationalize getting rid of the project management part of it, getting rid of the planning part of it, and plan in place, plan in action, just to start having some early successes quickly. But isn't that self-reinforcing? Doesn't that reinforce the idea that we don't really need to plan if we can find a way to get some early successes?
Well, it's an interesting point, Pete, because I think in this fast-paced world, we want to do that. If you're a mature organization and have the processes in place to do that and the disciplines in place and the culture in place to do that, that can work. But most organizations, particularly in the new one that I'm in, that we don't have those disciplines in place. So I like to slow things down. So when somebody says to me, let's just go do this and get this done, I like to go through the phases that we teach here at Cadence in terms of think, study, research, plan, and implement to say, where are we? Is this an idea? We're just in the think phase? Or are we ready to research this out and make it in terms of moving it forward into a plan, then implement? But if we go on the fast track, it is very likely that we will implement something that either doesn't work, doesn't fit in the organization, or doesn't sustain. And I'm all about quality, I'm all about first impressions, and I'm all about doing it right. So I slow people down. Don't jump to implement. Let's take step-by-step approach.
How do you do that? How do you tell people who are ready to go and get the work done, how do you get them to slow down? What are your process steps? I mean, you mentioned the Cadence Think, Study, Research, Plan, Implement, but what does your day-to-day look like for an organization that does not have a methodology built into the DNA?
One of the things I do is I'm all about visibility, so I have wall charts all over my office in terms of where are we. One of the phases is a project. Where are we in the phase thinking, so that people have an idea of where we're physically sitting. I think visible tools are crucial in terms of getting everybody on the same page. So I have the various phases of a project on the wall of my office, along with different ways of promoting events or whatnot to say all the elements for this project. For instance, if our project is to launch a new training course, then I'd be looking at all of the elements of that training course to make sure that when it was launched, we had all these things in place. Granted, I don't do anything without a project plan. So just part of the DNA, I say, where is your project plan? And I don't care if it's 2 pages or 22 pages, as long as they have a plan for us to implement from. We will not implement without a plan. That's just one of my management rules. Be glad to sign off on your plan, but I got to see it. And most people don't have a plan in place.
That's fascinating. So step number 1 for you is being a role model.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. And so I use project management terminology in my day-to-day work, and I'm always reinforcing the plan. And I want to make sure that they put together the business case for even doing this project, which is, part of the research phase that we would talk about here at Cadence, so that they understand what is the impact, what do they have to do to make sure it's successful. And that would be part of the research phase. So.
Last week we talked a little bit about I believe it was last week, we talked a little bit about how, preparing the right information, delivering it at the right time when trying to make complex decisions. Before that, we've talked about how you go to the strategic plan of the organization to do research gathering. How do your projects align with the strategic plan of the organization? It's so part of your effort in building this culture. Are you encouraging your staff and your people working on projects to be that invested in the organization's strategic direction?
Absolutely. We all work for the same organization. I want to make sure that everybody understands the goals of the company and what we're doing is tied to the goals of the organization. But another key part of these decisions that we're making about putting forth this plan is the impact. What is the financial impact on the organization? What are the resources that we're going to need to make sure that this happens? Because I now work in a world of stakeholder management, and I got to make sure that all the stakeholders are at the table for these events, that we're just not doing something for our own use, but it's truly making an impact for the organization. And that's usually a bottom line impact in terms of bringing in revenue or cost reduction.
Mm-hmm. Well, the last question that I have for you is, how is it working? And specifically, are you finding any natural pain points in rolling out this new sort of role model behavior and project thinking and strategic alignment in actually getting your staff bought into a new process?
Well, it's baby steps, as always, as with any organization. When you're new, you want to establish your credibility up front. And so I am very consistent in my messages. I meet weekly with the key people that I need to interact with on a weekly basis. I meet one-on-one with individuals. I'm always walking the halls to talk to people, and I'm making sure that I am communicating. So I really do want to walk the talk when it comes to project management. But at the end of the day, it's about delivering business results. And so that's my key message to everyone, is at the end of the day, it's about the revenue that we bring, reducing our expenses, and delivering to the bottom line. So that's the impact that I'd like to leave in terms of making a difference in an organization, but also to our customers, delivering them the right solutions that makes a difference for them as well.
Well, I couldn't say it any better than that. Connie, thank you so much for your time today and your lending us your wisdom, as always.
Thank you, Pete. It is always a pleasure.
If you are listening to this podcast on the website, make sure you head over to iTunes, subscribe for free, and make sure that the Ask Cadence podcast is delivered to you. You don't even have to lift a finger, not a single finger, and it will come straight to you every single week. All that project management goodness. On behalf of Connie Plowman, my name again is Pete Wright. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll catch you next week on another episode of Ask Cadence.